Oh no, it started on its own. Good morning. My eyes are better. Blow my nose. Oops. Good morning. I wonder if it's still on. Okay, it slams down, it's on, but it could be slightly, anything could come near it and it would shut down. Sometimes it's like I have magic powers through my fingers and I can shut it off from a distance. It's not a joke, so, okay. Now, I'm not feeling this Central Ohio thing anymore. I don't know if it's something else or it's later. Okay, so there's a part in the Bible and people that believe in rapture. I don't believe in rapture anymore. I never really fully believed in rapture. It was kind of like this. I thought I was supposed to believe in rapture, but I had these one questions about these specific scriptures and tied in with the free gift of Christ, and he's the new covenant, was the new covenant, his death, or his life, death, and resurrection, all of it together, and there's so much more to it than just that. He completed death, hell, and heaven, so that we don't have to go through also tons of rituals to get to God. We have the gift of the Holy Spirit. Okay. So I can't say that I ever fully believed in rapture, but sometimes things would get so bad I hoped that there was a rapture, but when I would really sit and think about it, it was the theory alone, just the theory alone of rapture was so asinine backwards. It was kind of like, let everything go to hell because it's supposed to, because we're going to get raptured out of here, so who gives a heck about anyone? And if you really kind of boil it down, that's what it is. Am I this gray colored? No, it's a little gray in here right now. If I start messing with lights, where are we going to be at then? I don't know. I was getting this fire thing, but it's not really a fire, but it torches like a fire. Maybe it looks like a fire. Maybe that's over now. Maybe it's... But it was going east to west. That's what was confusing me, because I thought normally a lot of the strong winds come from the west certain times of the year, so it would like be backwards going in a way. Anyways, that this east to west would be propelled. Like, even though the lake's over here not too far, not even 10 miles, so I don't even know if it's 5 miles. Okay, so, but a lot of the biggest vortex winds where we are right here with even other houses, half acre or more away, is it rips through the back here really crazy. And I should video it more than I do because it comes through so harsh when it does, especially in late winter to early spring. Now, we let some of the trees grow in more than they were, or they just got bigger. And that changed how it rips through here, big time. Trees, okay, we're not gonna do go off-roading on, because I'm postponing what I was supposed to share, which is people have been saying it a while, but it really has been going on. They have infiltrated certain cop shops and areas and cities. We're going to be in a cartel war because a lot of the cartel are working within the system, and you wouldn't know that they worked in a cartel. It's been going on a while, and we have a different breed of cop, people that keep track of cop behavior and arrests and pullovers and traffic stops. Could all, I'm very sure, would say much more aware than even me just keeping up with it, because I don't watch all of them. So I might like thumbs up videos, but I don't watch the whole video. of police misconduct. I've seen that most of my life. Like I said, the nicest, most reasonable, irrational police I ever met were in parts of Montana. I can't speak for all of Montana. Okay, this was in a really rural area. I mean, it might have been predominantly, not that would make them nicer, because some of our most scary people that we've had do stuff to our property and our belongings and our persons was big churchgoers, but this one rural area in Montana was predominant small churchgoers, farmers, the Amish, and there was another group out there, and they were like really colorful. The girls wore colorful polka dots, and they were like a different group, and they didn't follow the rules like everyone else, and I think they were more like gangsters dressed up as like colorful Amish, because as far as I know, they were into like, the guys at least, pretty heavy drinking, smoking. I don't know what kind of group they were, but they drove really nice cars and stuff. Okay, that was just too much information to say. The police were really nice in these certain locations in Montana, so I can't speak for all of Montana, okay? And there was other nice policemen we've met in different spots. But to say that the least, okay. I just don't want to do this right now, so is that we're in the middle. I'm going back to what I'm supposed to be sharing, which is, it is really going to be an internal cartel war, because a lot of the cartels have positions of power. It's just all I can say. And the sheriffs are paid off really well if they're not in the cartel, or they become into the cartel. And I, for many decades, was all about, we got to run away. Where do you run to? And when I really list all the countries and locations I was going to go to, they're worse off than here, which is hard to believe, but it's the truth. And there still is some freedom here. Now, from my position, it's a different story of, that wasn't even the main thing, was about the cartel wars, the internal, call them internal. Now, if we go ruffle up their mothership, which is finding out the predominant source of the cartels, but really you got to get in and clean up the police shops and stuff. You got to figure out who's hired in there and why they're not acting right, and why a lot are behaving very violently and aggressively and abusively, and it's outnumbering the good cops there. Let's just put it there. Is that, now I'm going on to my spiritual thing, and then I'm ending the video, is this: do you trust God? Oh, we just throw it off as just this thing, just, it's so easy. Is it? Do we really trust God? I think that we find that we think we trust God when everything is kind of, all the ducks are in a row. You can feed yourself, the pantry's not too slim, you're able to get from point A to point B decently. We'll say decently, we won't even say perfectly, but you're bursting at the seams of what would appear to be certain kind of blessings. And sometimes, why does it look like? Well, because sometimes there's an animal hanging out, or they leap through an area and I see a shadow. It's a natural thing. And so that's through the parts of the curtain in this area, is that, well, I would say that it doesn't really matter how much you trust God right now, because it's going to change the next minute. One of the biggest things that I feel like we forget about is trust. What is trust? What is trust, unconditional love. The thing is that because it's God, He reigns and rules with a heavier iron. Alright, so when one of His children are not behaving and they ain't getting it right, there could be some major cans of whoop ass. Or you might think, well, that was light compared to what she needed again, or whatever the case may be. Whoever that is you like to see get punished by whatever means they're being punished, that you like to see them get punished. You have joy in this person being punished, and it's very sick and it's very demented, and it's something that we need to look at as a culture, because when a group of people have been evil for a long extended time, there's a natural tendency for the ones that have been persecuted to maybe have a little bit of satisfaction in knowing that they also have their karma coming, so to speak. If we're living a current hell, there is a little satisfaction. But the point is that at what point do we become where we're lavishing in it, we're reveling in it, we like it, we're obsessing over it. We're obsessing over this person's downfall, and we've been obsessing over their downfall their whole lives, and so far it looks like they have been an unsuccessful downfall. So why would you still find satisfaction that that person has been not successful in the sight of the world, in the sight of what is important to everyone, more so the herds than it is to the people that really care. So I finished coloring this, and the other day I had said that coloring wasn't really being an artist. It is to some degree, because you got to put colors together, and the obvious is staying in the lines, and this was very difficult because it's smaller, and I'm not even done because I'm actually doing a soft pink and yellow backdrop underneath that, like a pastel, like a sky color, like upon a sunrise. I'm going more with like a lighter where the sun's breaking through. So I'm gonna go about it more like that. Is outside of all that, and oh God, what did I do really here was trust, unconditional love. I encourage you, it was so simple. It was like a simple 2-minute sentence. Lean in to Jesus, lean in more. Trust Jesus. Some are going before you. Those are your witnesses that they're being tortured by your police. There's slews of videos and investigative journalists and lawyers and ex-police that cover the misconduct of police. We need good police. We need good men and women that don't want to torture people to become police. And the ones that work at the station and out on the road and on 911 calls. We need good men and women. Don't do this anymore. So leaning into Jesus, we must really trust Jesus in these times. When you thought that you trusted Jesus a year ago or 5 years ago, it should be now. And if it's 20 years now, it's been 20 years you were wrestling with trusting God. You were homeless. Say you were homeless. A form of homelessness. I'm just using this as an example. I have been on the verge of full homeless. I don't know, like, there's so many varying levels. We did not have a mortgage. We did not pay rent, but it was short term. Oh God, and I would say something about being homeless, living in a car so I can just get a bunch of people in an uproar. But there is a certain elemental when you can just get away from all the shame, the people that throw shame at you, especially if they don't pass what they think your traveling home should look like, or how you landed where you did, and in the vehicle that you're in, or why isn't it a camper, like that you didn't have time to set up like a certain way. You have to deal with all this just going even to a gas station sometimes, and it can start to look evident that someone is living out of their car. And why are we discussing this when we're talking about trust? Well, that is something about human beings, is our trust really gets huge for God when, say for instance, you're in a vehicle that wouldn't deem worthy as a vehicle that you can live in, but you're living in it most of the time outside of a random motel or whatever you can figure out to get a hot shower, and usually has to do with a motel that's pretty cheap, that has at least running hot water. Why does she seem so miserable when she gives these messages? Because these are difficult topics. So no, I'm not saying you need to be homeless. I'm not saying you need to be homeless to trust God more, but history repeats itself, and it's in every spiritual philosophy out there. The more people have, the more creature comforts they have, the farther God gets. But the only one that gave them those gifts, truly allowed them to have all those gifts or those comforts, creature comforts, art, supplies, whatever it might be. And then for some reason, instead of it drawing us closer to God, the more that we acquire, because it's just, in the end of the day, it's just more in a house fire. If God forbid there's a house fire or something horrible, earthquake that splits a house into, some terrible event, tsunamis, tornadoes, so many things now. Is always has been, but our trust is just so important. Like, you can prep till you're blue in the face, you can have everything cycled out. Does anyone ever efficiently talk about cycling out? No one does. Biggest mistake preppers make, and every prepper's done it, even the most efficient, on task, daily, keeping everything in order and knowing what's going on with dates and expiration dates and what was stored how. It's a big job. It's a big job. Prepping's not a joke. Just throwing cans of food in a corner in a closet works too, but if you don't cycle through, what do you got? You got a big thing of cans for 2 years that you forgot about. And now what? Who's gonna be the one that tests the dates? Oh, it's probably fine. Are we going to go into that now? God, that looked terrifying. So, our trust is really important. What was this thing about being homeless? And then, is she tying that into when Jesus said, leave everything, more or less he would say, leave everything behind to follow me. It's a true story. But you know what? I'm not going to take responsibility for that. You can read it in your word. It's in others. I'm not telling anyone to go be homeless in a car. But one thing I do know, and anything I ever read since I was in high school, is when people were having an existential crisis, and it wasn't like put in the newspaper, it wasn't like people were going around town, sometimes they would be old gossip towns, is someone having a existential crisis, you could call it, or doesn't happen that often, but people have been known to do it. Say the well-paid accountant that everyone just thought their life must have been so nice and predictive. It was an accountant's life, and his life was very predictive. This is a made-up story right now. And then one day, I'm going to try to not make this completely dark, okay, because God knows we can do that easily with me, with my storytelling, is he's at work one day, there's tons of movies about it, songs about it. He's like, I'm not going to be an accountant anymore. I always wanted to be this. I was really good at this thing that I loved. I hate accounting. If I have to help one more person, whatever kind of accountant he was, okay. But apparently he had to deal with people and help them manage their money. And if he had to deal with helping other people manage their money for one more day while managing his money on his own with his wife that won't stop spending money, we're going to just throw that in as a side note. So he's got that going on. He's got to help people, not help people like with his wife, who's spending all the money. Why is the other one not spending much money, but the other one spends more money? And then he's got this wife. So he's like, I'm leaving. I'm not even going to give proper notice because there's so many accountants in the office. I'm leaving. I'm done. I saved a bunch of money and I'm taking my money. I'll leave her with her spending problem and all the kids just mean to me. And I'm leaving. And they go away from this comfortable life, cushy life, material-wise. And he has what would have been, who knows now, be scared of him because he left this comfortable, predictable life. And we could even throw in, because this isn't uncommon anymore, his wife's fucking around on him behind his back too. So he deals with her spending problem. Now he's found out she's unfaithful. And he deals with these nimrods at work that don't know how to manage their own money, who have more money than they should because they don't even know how to keep track of it. He just leaves everything. And he learns to trust God more because he didn't even have a plan. He wasn't for sure he could leave his job and go be successful at this other vocation that he was very good at. But there's no guarantee in that. So this was just a really long story this morning to say I will be so upset about the camera and how I look. And is that this was really difficult. It did take about 3 days for I don't know how many hours in between each other hour. I was determined not to give up though, and I haven't given up. It was a matter of the whole thing at the end of the day is the most tedious part is you leave it white, or do you also bring dimension to the backdrop? And if you don't get that right and you did all this other work, you can do it prior, but then you're kind of predetermining your skyline, how you want it to go. So it's very difficult to see with this lighting. It's really bad lighting. But I did some very light pink with a light yellow, and now this is a brighter one that I had to. It was just too bright, but I'm still gonna leave it. I might do something like that over here. Get more of a close-up so you can see how I stay in the lines mostly. This was very, like I said, this was, whew. And then this gets really creepy. This artist, and I don't have the name here right now, I'll get it in another time, is him or her, I don't know. It will see seemingly imaginative and nothing too harmful. But then you get to something weird like where there's the bunny, and then this is technically a path. These are all paths or something. But these are really narrow, like this bunny wouldn't fit. Or these are new, but then there's like a cave over here that you can't see. I'm sorry, over here. Well, anyhow, then there's like a table with 2 cups. But then there's bones, not bones, but rocks. But then there's a skull that's made, but it's really just made with the rocks. And then there's this literature. It appeared to be like an old ancient type of literature here, this book. Then like under ocean sea life stuff to me. In the ocean. So that's where it really gets odd. Because then this is going into like a cave too, a deeper cave. And really a lot of it is. So then I just went with that. And I just did whatever colors I wanted. And this was just supposed to be about trust. And this isn't to feel bad. We don't need to do those all the time. We don't need to always feel bad about our gangster ass or our wants to be gangster ass and it's no longer. Let the gangster go. You might have some things that you kept of the gangster for whatever reason, and I, for the life of me, don't know why we kind of can take parts of where we've been instead of just letting it all go. But a lot of us don't want to look like Quakers, and a lot of us don't want to look like everyone else. We don't want to wear the pantsuits, and it's we find it to be cumbersome in a way that we're supposed to appear like we're on the Leave It to Beaver show. All of us, we can't. And I know that my life hardened me in ways that I wasn't before. But also before, when I was young, I wasn't hardened enough in certain ways or had the proper street smarts to survive properly. Now these are, what is she doing now? These are these small little circulars. These are actually plastic. I was pretty disappointed because I believe these were advertised as glass. This is when, I think it was during the shutdown, maybe prior or during. And there was a lot more misadvertisement. It's like there was no monitoring of advertisements, so there was a lot of fraud. Well, anyhow, it's very teeny detailed. And then I have the other ones that are like this one that I finished. And I used a dark gray, added shungite, and I made it a dark gray grout. Well, these are like a glass. These are different. These are a little sharper all around. They're very sharp, actually, all around. But I'm going to take it with these circulars that have the multicolored centers. And I have this one that we had found. And I'm going to do another small one. And sometimes I wonder to myself, why am I even doing these things? You know what I mean? What's a pointless activity again? Just sitting here on my ass, I guess. I mean, am I really going to sell them? I suppose I could. Just like, are we going to all sell something to who? Who are we selling it to? All right. And my stuff isn't really that like, ooh, wow, nobody could ever do it. You know what I mean? I think people kind of look for that, you know, like, I'm just getting some of it done. What's one of the reasons? If I don't use a lot of the markers and stuff, they'll just go bad. Same with the paint. I went through where I was organizing product, and because I hadn't gotten some of these paints, I lost the paints. So I decided that even if I normally would try to just let myself decide when to do some kind of art or crafts or whatever, is that I'm going to tell myself that it's important that I get some of these paints out and paint and stuff to use the product before I'm just throwing it out. And I'm not going to buy any more because it's too expensive. And it truly is. It truly is. So I always recommend a new artist or people that think they have a flair or they want to learn a flair, start out at garage sales and estate sales. And lots of times you'll find that the family, if the one member that passed on or whoever was an artist or paint, they are just wanting someone to take the paints because it's so out of control. And you can find those a lot. I was very grateful for those opportunities when I was young. And that's just the way it went. And I could get free paints and still afford to go in on or purchase more reels or stuff for fishing rod or a sporting event or all those things that that person needed at that time. But yet God always provided a way. And if there was a hiccup because it was getting in the hundreds or something, but it was not frivolous and it was a useful ability or involved an ability for the child, then I would group up, with family. Anyways, that's just how it went. And I was always grateful for these opportunities, or even sometimes we landed at these yard sales, garage sales for the fishing or athletic equipment, and then there would be like free paints or something. That was neat. Okay, so trust. Yeah. So it was really, I hope I articulated it right, but it's so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper than just we throw the word around. Do you really trust God? If you really trust God, you wouldn't worry. If you really trusted God, you would never worry about nothing. There might be an occasional fleeting concern, but you would immediately hand it to God because you trust God. And I've been getting very strongly, because my situation has been painted so dark around me and so aired and so misdocumented, and it's so heart-wrenching for decades now. They just keep dragging it back and then adding more. Is all at the hand of pedophile rings and pedophile ring cover-ups. Is must I state where? Is trust. And I'm saying this just how I do get it sometimes, but I'm not harassed by it. Is, do you trust me? And I want to hear you say every day, I trust you, God. I love you, God. I personally trust you. I can't speak for the persons I live with or the puppies. I feel they trust a lot of their own impulse as dogs. And they need a lot of reshaping, like a lot of us humans, I suppose. When a baby comes out of the mother and they cannot trust the mother, they know by the time they're 2-3 months old, they cannot trust the mother. Their whole world is different. This might be like some rash stuff, and but I don't look like this, but we're gonna just stick with the story. If that baby then can't trust someone close to the mother, their whole world's telescope or glasses or eyes or perception of their environment and world is completely different than a person that comes out of a couple that they can trust the parents. Have you ever watched someone when they're not supposed to, but we would do the light, you do the light throw, they're already holding their neck and stuff up. I guess people had to stop because people didn't know how to do it right, but the babies get hardy enough by almost a year, and you can kind of do a light throw. And they're not really even in the air long because you're catching them right as you let go. And they're just like, that's funny, because you never dropped them. The person that started this game with the child never dropped the child. And they trust that this person can throw them up in the air. Now, I have seen people throw kids up pretty high, or we used to, and then we catch them. And we always caught each other. Very, very rarely was there a breakdown in the system of someone not catching someone. And that included some sports I was in and also cheerleading. I can't think of one time that we didn't catch right, and then if the one time that we didn't catch right, we still kind of caught her. But boy, there was hell to be paid for that, and I don't remember what the hiccup was, but the girls would come down so hard out of the air that you'd get bruised and stuff. It was bad. Or if you weren't careful, you hit heads. With the one that what are we doing now? So you're not gonna get very far on your spiritual walk that is not gonna look anything like the world trajectory. And it will also depend on what you were born to be here for, born to see, born to live through, born to see the future of, or understand the past better, to understand the present and the future. It's all tied in, and it's cyclical, and we need the first, the last, and the beginning, and the middle, and the end, and all in between to make the final product. And that's with any project or any creative endeavor or anything is. But the trust factor is really important right now, and you need to amp it up, whoever you are. And I've tried to say it in every which way, because it really is thrown around like, oh yeah, trust God. Oh, well, by the way, I've got, billions of dollars in my investments. Yeah. I bet that person trusts God a lot. Do you think that they would trust him more than the person living out of their car? And I'm back to that again, but maybe they do. But I'm gonna go because someone's gonna start being ornery. I can see it on his face, so